Hello, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel. I moved to the UK in the middle of September. It is now the middle of December, and I've decided to do a sort of initial culture shocks video. It might be that further down the line when I've had more experiences I might have more to add to this list, but this is my initial impressions as someone who's newly arrived kind of thing. I also, just as an aside, I feel like the word culture shock is too strong of a word for what this is going to be, because there's no shock. Some of it wasn't even a surprise, but if I called the video something else, what would people be expecting me to talk about? I don't know. So we might call the video something else when I've had time to think about it. But for now, this is essentially the stuff that's different-y. But yeah, that's not a very easy thing to put in a thumbnail, is it? So anyway, the first thing that was very obvious straight away when I arrived in the UK was obviously going to be the food. I knew this would be the case from the get-go. It's sort of cliched, right, that the British don't use all the spices that they conquered the world for, but it's worse than I thought. I thought things wouldn't be quite as flavorful. I was thinking fewer spices. They can't even get processed junk right. Obviously, there's no meat pies. That's what I was expecting. I found something that will be a decent stand-in for a meat pie. I thought a sandwich is a sandwich wherever you go. No, it isn't. They can't even do white bread here. It's awful. And I'm like, I've just arrived. Maybe I just haven't found the right brand of white bread. But, I mean, how bad can white bread get? I found out it's styrofoam. That's an exaggeration, just to be clear. I knew the chocolate wouldn't be as good as at home. I was correct. I wasn't expecting to come across multiple brands of chocolate that I wouldn't be prepared to eat. I buy it, take one bite, and I'm like, oh no, I'll just give that to someone. But I think obviously some of this is going to be just the general palate that I am accustomed to. I don't know what the rest of it is. Maybe it's just degree of processedness, I guess. But yeah, that's really weird. The other thing which I found really shocking, and this is definitely under the food category, but it's slightly different. It's not about whether the food is delicious or not, which it never is. It's always adequate at best. I've yet to have anything in the UK that I thought was genuinely delicious. Except a pastry. They can do pastries. I think it's proximity to France that is fixing that. But anyway, the other thing that really surprised me was going through a supermarket, and I've been to several. I've been to big ones, I've been to little ones. I really struggle to find stuff that's fortified with vitamins, and that really did shock me quite a lot, because at home everything has vitamins in it. I mean, obviously that's a slight exaggeration, but any cereal that you grab off the shelf at home will have B vitamins added. If you go to the yogurt aisle, there'll be brands of yogurts and milk that have vitamin D added. All the table salt is iodized. So it's, as someone who's had vitamin deficiency issues, being able to get, just off the shelf random food items that have vitamins in helped me not have to take multivitamins, which cause skin irritation in me, at least. I don't know if I'm unique in that regard, but I definitely had to stop taking multivitamins. My skin would die and fall off, but I had no vitamins in my blood, and this horrible thing happened. So making sure that I didn't choose the less processed option helped me. So instead of just going with rolled oats, which weren't fortified, I went to a fortified cereal, and it was just like pick the different box off the shelf, job done, and that helped my vitamin situation. But in the UK, if you check on the box, there's no, oh, with vitamins, and you go to the nutritional information and it's just like, you know, fat, salt, sugar. That's kind of it. There's no, oh, but actually we've also snuck some vitamins in there. And in order to find stuff that has been vitamin fortified, I'm having to find stuff that's imported, or at least that I think is imported, because everything that I've found that has it is very much an American company. Anything that's made in the UK, apparently they're not adding stuff. And I was really shocked by this. And someone did make a comment to me about like, oh, but if there's vitamins added to all your food, then aren't you just going to get like too much vitamins in your body? And A, there's a limit to how much you can absorb and it becomes a waste. But B, you can actually also have too much and then it can cause health problems, like with everything. And I was thinking, well, whilst we are a major agricultural producer, we do actually have quite shitty soil quality in New Zealand. And I was thinking, well, maybe the fact that everything in the way of processed foods in the supermarket is enriched with vitamins at home is reflecting the fact that our soil isn't that great, and so our fresh produce doesn't have as much nutritional value, or it's specifically vitamin value, as perhaps it does here. I don't know. But yeah, that's been a real surprise, and I'm having to put some thought into where I get stuff. Like at the moment, I'm just eating cornflakes for every breakfast because I know that it's got vitamins added, and I desperately need those vitamins because apparently I'm not so great at absorbing them. So if I just have like, well, I'm going to trust that this other thing that doesn't say it has vitamins and it has enough that I'll absorb it anyway, like I feel like I'm going to get sick if I do that. So yeah, my big surprise was the lack of vitamins. Less of a surprise, but much more annoying, the food in general isn't as good. My second, and I think this is probably biggest shock so far, is that they do not heat the malls. What the hell? I went to the mall, it was -1 outside. I walked through those doors and I was thinking, cool, now I can take my several layers off. No, I couldn't. It was freezing, well, literally below freezing in the mall. And I thought, maybe this mall specifically is weird, or maybe it has some problem and like next time I come it'll be fine. And I spoke to some locals and they said no, they just don't heat the malls. Like specific shops within a mall might choose to have heating, but the main bit of the mall that you spend most of your time in while you're walking around trying to find stuff, freezing cold. The hell? And someone said to me, oh, it's because they're practically outside. And I'm like, no. Like the particular mall that I was talking about does have a part where you step through some doors into an outside area and you kind of go into a space that feels like it's inside because you're under a roof and there are walls, but on one side there is actually no wall. And I was like, I can understand not being able to heat that, but the rest of the mall has doors. And I'm like, why do you feel that that's practically outside, you don't need to heat it? Why do you feel that when you experience sub-zero temperatures? I don't understand. And it was really weird, and I feel that it makes shopping less comfortable, not only because it's cold, but because you're kind of, you know, all bundled up from having been outside, especially if you're taking public transport like I do. So just to get there, I had been outside for ages waiting for buses and stuff, so I was like super bundled up, and I had to go into the mall and remain like super layered up and all puffy and not have like, you know, like you get like 4 layers of clothing on your arms that don't bend properly anymore. Like you're dealing with that whilst also trying to like look at stuff in a clothing shop and hold it up and decide if you like it. And it's like, my arms don't work properly and I'm really bulky and I'm freezing cold and what the hell is this? I don't get it. I understand that it's like fuel efficient, but it's ridiculous. My next one, and this isn't a shock so much as a delight, is that people are every day, unironically, just going about their business wearing Christmas jumpers. And I'm like, I love it so much. Like, I'm used to Christmas being the absolute height of summer. Like, the worst sunburn I've ever had in my life happened on a Christmas day. Like, summer doesn't lend itself to coziness, right? So at home you wear limited clothing and you have the doors and windows open and you drink cold beverages, and it means that Christmas has this big open, bright and airy feel to it. It's not cozy. Whereas here it's dark by 4 and everyone's got the lights on, like all the Christmas lights are on from like easily 3 o'clock if not earlier. And people wear Christmas jumpers, like fun ones with pictures and like cool patterns on them. And I've never seen that, because like, why on earth would we have Christmas jumpers back home? So there's a coziness to the way people dress and to the general like vibe in the buildings and stuff that I am not accustomed to during the Christmas period, and I'm enjoying that quite a lot. The next one was expected, not a shock, but the fact that it's dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. People told me, I knew this was going to be a thing, and I don't hate it. At the moment though, as I said, like the Christmas lights are up and stuff, so I like going home at the end of the day, and yeah, it's dark and everyone's complaining about that, and it does make like walking around and stuff obviously not as easy, particularly where there's like potholes and stuff. But Christmas lights are on and it's so pretty and I really enjoy it. But the interesting thing about it is that there's also vitamin D specifically stuff everywhere. I find it interesting that it's not added to the dairy products, because that's what we would do at home. But you like vitamin D water and vitamin D supplements just like in the convenience store at the corner. So I kind of find that interesting, and I guess this linking back to what I said earlier about the food thing, like clearly this is a vitamin that people do actually struggle to get here, and probably it's the one that really matters compared to the vitamins that I've been looking for. But yeah, I find that kind of interesting that you can see in the stuff in the shops that there isn't as much light here and people are trying to get vitamin D, and it's actually kind of hardish-ish to find sunscreen. And the convenience store up the road from me, they sell sunscreen, but they have one. And it's only SPF 30, not 50. I'm like, why even buy 30? And it's the bigger deal on the packaging isn't that it will protect you from the sun so much as that it also is a self-tanner. And I'm like, yeah, this is a country that's concerned about not enough light. My last kind of culture shock surprise thing is I'm really super duper foreign. Like, I know that I'm from a foreign country, that's not a surprise. But it is surprising that I'm really, really foreign. Like, it's not just that I haven't encountered another New Zealander. I'm meeting people who are telling me I'm the first New Zealander they've ever met. And I'm like, but there's millions of us, what are you talking about? And I guess, yeah, there are millions of us, but not like that many millions, you know? I'm just like, how foreign could I be? Apparently quite foreign. I'm discovering that probably as a New Zealander, I think that's what's driving this. When it comes to like conservation perspectives, I'm kind of an extremist. I didn't realize that. I thought that, like, I knew that I care about the environment. I didn't realize that I care about it in an extreme way, because I think that's just normal. Like, for example, I've had a few people say things to me that I found really shocking, and I realised it was just because of where I'm from. So someone said to me that the British historically haven't really cared about the rivers, and the phrasing he used was something like, as long as the river didn't smell, we didn't care. And I was just like, what the fuck? You know, and I've recently learned that the degree of treatment on wastewater here isn't what I would consider to be sufficient. And it's because I don't care. It's like adequate, and that's it. Like, adequate is good enough here, and I'm like, I find that really shocking. And I don't want to in any way suggest that New Zealand's like gold standard. Like, we fuck up as well. But we care about it. You know, like, we do stuff that's bad for the environment, and we're like, this is a bad thing that we're doing. We don't want to keep doing this. How can we improve it? Whereas I don't see that attitude here quite as much, and certainly not in the dialogue with people who aren't involved in conservation or ecological work or wastewater management, anything like that. And like, we were discussing some papers in the doctoral reading group that I go to, and one of them was about the culling of goats in the Galapagos. So some years ago, the Galapagos had an insane number of goats, and they were threatening native plant species, and this was of course going to cause a problem for the tortoises. And so the decision was made to get rid of the goats. And this paper we were reading was talking about the sort of emotional, social toll that this had on the people that lived there. And I was reading it and I was just like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care about your feelings, I care about the environment. Like, we're trying to save the world, you don't get to have feelings about a dead goat. I'm like, oh, okay, so apparently that's quite an extreme perspective. Because I'm from a country where we wipe stuff out. Like, we currently have a goal to get rid of all predators by 2050. All introduced predators. So to me, I'm like, yeah, going in and wiping out the entirety of a species which doesn't belong there and is causing massive ecological harm, that seems like a great thing. And it was really shocking to me to discover that that's actually quite an extreme opinion. But it's just because that's normal at home. And it's been interesting having conversations about this with people, and yeah, discovering that my opinion and my country's policies are viewed as quite extreme. I wasn't prepared for that at all. It never occurred to me that people in other countries might just go, oh well, when it comes to invasive species. Like, that, I'm still struggling with that, honestly. I feel like there's a potential for what I just said to result in angry comments in my comment section. But oh well, I guess. So I'm just going to move on. The other thing that, it's not a culture shock, it's a good thing, but I wasn't sure how it would go, is people are totally fine with me incorporating my culture into stuff that I'm doing here. And I guess I wasn't sure how that would go, particularly like in the colonizer country. But like in New Zealand, when you are writing like the, you know, auto signature thing on emails, it's really common to put like your name, your credentials, pronouns, and the tribes that you're affiliated with if you're Māori. And you would also put this into any kind of profile that you might write for a website or anything like that. And I'm having to write these things at the moment, and I was like, at home I would include this information, but here it's not like it's very clearly stated, like, you know, native New Zealand tribe affiliation, da 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 da. You just put Te Whanau Apanui, done. Like, and that's just the name of one of my iwi or tribes. You don't provide any context for having that there because everyone who reads it knows automatically what that is. And I was asking, what do I do? Like, I would like to have it in because it's accurate information about me and it's how I prefer to provide information about myself, you know, accurately. But I'm also aware that it's from the perspective of people that I meet here, it's going to be unintelligible because obviously not in English. It has no context. So they're going to have to just either ignore it or look it up, right? And I was like, is that appropriate? Are people going to be confused by that? Like, what do you think? And I was just like, yep, that's fine. So that was nice to not have to fight to record my identity accurately in paperwork. So that was cool. Alright, so I've come to the end of my list. This video, I only had 5 things, but I have 29 minutes of footage now, and I'm like, what on earth? How did I achieve that? How much editing am I gonna have to do? So I guess I'm gonna go get onto that. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.